We're Scott and Kelli, and our guests on the show today, all the way from the beautiful state of Kansas, is the band Cloverton.
I know this sounds super cheesy. I just have to get it out of my system.
Uh-oh.
You're not in Kansas anymore.
Oh,
Well, we haven't heard that one on this trip yet. So
no. I was going to say, I'm sure you've heard it before, just not on this trip.
we usually get asked, where's Toto? And that's,
No place like home.
in
And
Africa, so.
nice.
You guys are from Manhattan. I see sometimes even in the stuff you put out, you don't specify Manhattan, Kansas necessarily.
Yeah, we had someone tell us early on to do that.
Yeah.
Just to say Manhattan. I don't know why, but we do it.
Do people have a different perspective when they find out you're from Manhattan, Kansas, and not Manhattan, New York?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of I don't know if it's a disappointment kind of thing. But in fact, we played in Reno a couple nights ago, and they introduced that we're all the way from Manhattan, and people kind of like, you could hear the breath go out of the room, and they say Kansas. And then they're not as impressed, I guess. We only traveled halfway across the country instead of all the way across.
Our guest, the band Cloverton, and if you got something to say to them, you can on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page.
Our guests today are the guys from Cloverton.
Now, you guys, you put on a great show, but at heart, you're all worship leaders.
There's a really fine line between like entertaining and also like leading worship, and I think that I think there's room for both, and so we're trying to meld those two things together, so that Christians can go to a place where they can really be entertained, but at the same time they can really worship, and that's kind of a big drive for us of why we do what we do.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a lot biblically that oftentimes gets left out of worship when it comes to a church service, and for whatever reason we feel we have to walk into church and be reserved, but yet we have more to cheer about than anybody watching a football game on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. I mean, yet when we go into worship and we basically are cheering God on for what he's done for us and saying thank you, we get in this place where we're like, oh, I've got to stand, with my chest out and my hands down at my side. And we get to this place. And there's that mixture, I think, of reverence. Times where you're reverent before God because of what he's done. But at times where you're like David and you're dancing and jumping around and really worshiping God with everything that's in you. Yeah,
no, definitely. And we try to build those moments into our, whenever we have an opportunity to play and to lead worship, because that's honestly, every night is an opportunity to do that. And people will walk away from it with different moments and things that they've captured, whether it be something that really spoke to them through a song or just a moment that they remember. That's the cool thing about Take Me in the Beautiful playing on K-LOVE, is that we've gotten lots of stories about people who've been impacted by that song in different ways than it was originally even intended to. We've heard from people that have used it a lot for funerals, where people are use it as a real uplifting kind of song as they're going to the next place, and that wasn't even a thought when we originally wrote that song.
But so what a cool thought. I love that.
And that would have never happened if it wasn't playing on K-LOVE.
Our guest, the band Cloverton, if you've got something that you want to say to them, you can on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page.
And here's Take Me Into the Beautiful on K-LOVE.
Take me into the beautiful, won't you take me back again? With a love unexplainable, come and fill up this dry land. Let it open our eyes to see a world we've never seen. Let it open our hearts up to feel you inside of us. You're here inside of me. Take me to the beautiful, where the rivers flow, where the love that never ends. Oh, I want to go to the beautiful, la 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 la. Take me to the beautiful, where the faces glow, where the light that never dims. Oh, I want to go to the beautiful. Come on and take me again. Take me into the mystery, gently lift me with your grace. Make the chaos a chorus. With yourself, come fill this place. Cover me with your mercy. Come and cover me with love. Cover me so that all might see that it's you, not me, it is you that I'm singing of. Take me to the beautiful, where the rivers flow, where the love that never ends. Oh, I want to go to the beautiful, la 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 la. Take me to the beautiful, where the faces glow, where the light that never dims. Oh, I want to go to the beautiful. Come on and take me again. A love that's brighter than diamonds when I'm with you. A love that always invites us to be with you. Your love is brighter than diamonds. Now I'm with you. Take me into the beautiful, where the rivers flow, where the love that never ends. Oh, I want to go to the beautiful, la 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 la. Take me to the beautiful, where the faces glow, where the light that never dims. Oh, I want to go to the beautiful. Come on and take me again.
Positive, encouraging K-Love with Cloverton. Take me into the beautiful. They're our guest today, and Lance, the lead singer, was just sharing with us how that song has been used at a lot of funeral services since people have been hearing it on K-Love.
In fact, Rick shared a note on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page. He said that song was the song they used at their 28-year-old son's memorial service when they lost him last July suddenly. And he says, every time I hear the song, it reminds me of Matthew, and I hear him speaking to me through the song. So thanks so much for writing it. We're Scott and Kelli, and our guests on the show today, the band Cloverton. And if you got something to say to them, you can on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page. Christine said, my son is so excited to hear his art teacher on the radio. So hello to Mr. Lane Stafford from Declan in Manhattan, Kansas.
This almost didn't happen. Why?
Yeah, well, a variety of things. I think early on, I chased a lot of different dreams, I guess you could say. Just career paths, whatever you want to call it. And I knew that my dad was a music teacher, but I didn't want to follow in his footsteps and just become a music teacher. So I kind of tried to stay away from music for a while, at least doing it with much ambition.
What did you do?
I would lock myself in closet, like practice rooms on a university campus, and I would play and write, but I wouldn't. I was terrified to be in front of people.
Well, and I think that's a great point, is you battled stage fright big time, and I've battled that some myself.
Yeah.
And for those who have not faced that, it's sort of like in sports, don't they call it getting the yips, where you like something in your head gets where you just all of a sudden go into this weird.
I'm a sports guy, and I don't think I've ever heard it called
You've never
yips.
heard that?
No.
Have you heard that? Am I making this up? You've
I'm
heard
sure
that term?
I don't know.
Oh, no, they think I'm making it up, too. The bottom line is you see it like in golfers, where they're performing great, and as soon as they get on, in a real competition, they choke.
Yeah.
And with performers, it's the same thing, huh?
Yeah, and it was weird. And I think that it's God has a very unique way as far as timing goes. And I'd been writing for a while, and eventually it came to a place where I'd finished school. I hadn't gotten a degree in music or anything like that. And there was a church that approached me about leading worship. I'd never done that before. I felt like this was something I was supposed to do at that point. And I'd been running away from it for a while. And we played together as a worship team for a number of years before we even started to pursue it outside of Sundays. And then, the doors just started flying open for us. We couldn't have scripted it any better than it's like the process and the journey so far has been really just like timed by God, and I know that might sound really generic, but it really, like, we couldn't have scripted it any differently, any better.
Yeah.
Our guest, Cloverton. And again, if you want to say hi, you got something to say to them, you can certainly do that on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page.
And you can check out them performing live in the K-Love studio, the featured video at klove.com. The guys performing Take Me Into the Beautiful.
We're Scott and Kelli, and our guest today, the band Cloverton.
Do you ever get any cases of mistaken identity? Because we've had a few people who've said,
"Oh yeah,
I love that Third Day song you guys are playing."
Great.
we do a little. If you come to watch us play live, we love Third Day, and we listened to them growing up, and we do a little joke during our show where we start a Third Day song, and people really start cheering, and then we stop, and we tell them that, okay, we have to apologize. If you came here tonight expecting to see Third Day, we're not them.
The new song, "The End Is the Beginning." What's the story?
We put on all these layers daily, things that we carry around with us that take us kind of further away from how we were created to live, and whether it's something that we struggle with, like an addiction, or maybe it could be a million things.
Yeah.
But those things kind of hinder us from living the way we were created to live. And so in Scripture talks about dying to yourself, and so the idea of the end is the beginning is when we decide to die to those things. It's the end of your old self, and it's the beginning of your new self and how you were created to live.
The guys from Cloverton are our guests, and this is their new one, "The End Is the Beginning."
And the end is the beginning, where death makes way for living. It's on you depending. So long, farewell. I wish you well. You gained the world and lost it all. And today is pain, and to die is gain. And tomorrow Jericho will fall. And the end is the beginning, where death makes way for living. It's on you I'm depending, and it all begins in the end. Behind
Positive, encouraging K-LOVE. It's Cloverton and the title track from their CD, The End is the Beginning. We're Scott and Kelli, and those guys are guests today. In fact, if you've got something to say to them, feel free to do that on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page.
And you might have heard us talk about Camp Electric, a place where your kids can go and learn from guys like Toby Mac and Jeremy Camp and so many of your other favorite K-LOVE artists if they really have a heart and a passion to perform on stage and lead worship. A great thing to help encourage them in their gifts. And the guys in Cloverton actually were discovered through a Camp Electric talent contest. That's pretty amazing.
We entered that really last minute. We just kind of stumbled onto it, honestly. One of the guys in the band said, hey, I entered our song in this competition, and it was an online thing, so we had no idea who else was involved or what.
Yeah.
And so we made it past the first round and the second round, and eventually, like, we were in the top 10, and we're like, wow, this could potentially be really big for us. And then we won, and we got to open for Toby at Camp Electric for a couple years. We got to go on some cruises.
Yeah, the K-LOVE cruise.
It was a real bummer, going
suffering for Jesus
in
the
middle
Caribbean.
of the winter. Yeah.
Well, and that's where we first became acquainted with you guys personally. And I remember the energy you guys had on stage. I remember they had this tiny little. Do you remember that? This tiny little piano stool that you had to sit on, and the whole time I'm loving the music and thinking, I hope that piano stool doesn't break, because you were so energized, and that thing just was spindly. yeah,
especially on the waves. I try to balance with the rocking ship. So
balance, dude, you were like beating that thing up with your butt. I mean, I was like, I don't know what Lance has got against that stool, but he is like going to town on this thing, man.
We've gone through a few stools.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you ever had a moment where like you're in the middle of a show, you're playing, you're going at it, and all of a sudden stool gives way and boom?
I've only lost it once, and it was at the end of a song. So we've talked about safety, like getting a seatbelt for me.
The guys from Cloverton are guests today, and if you'd like to say hey, feel free. You can swing by and pay us a visit anytime on the Scott and Kelli Facebook page.